This is an ABP Life podcast.
So, I was just scrolling through topics that I wanted to cover for today. And I got some heavy topics like politics, terrorism and whatnot. But then I read somewhere that today is World Alzheimer's Day. Yes, I guess most of you have turned off this podcast by now. I mean, who wants to hear about Alzheimer's on a Wednesday morning, right? Everyone wants fast topics, spicy political news that can be discussed and debated in office and tea joints, right? But I think Alzheimer's Day is just as important, if not more, than any other political news. Do you people even know what is this disease? What causes this disease? How patients with Alzheimer's and the people around them suffer because of this? Let me decode all of this today. So welcome to Clear Cut, only on ABP Live podcast. I'm your newsman Rudrashish, and today, let me give you a clear-cut take on Alzheimer's disease. So let's get started. So what is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease is a progressive form of dementia. Dementia is a broader term for conditions that negatively affect memory, thinking, and behavior. The changes interfere with daily living. Alzheimer's can have a range of causes, such as brain injuries or diseases. Sometimes the cause is unknown. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia characterized by progressive degeneration of cognitive abilities. Its symptoms range from forgetfulness in its early stages to loss of speech and immobility in its last stages. According to the Dementia India report of 2010 by the Alzheimer's and Related Disorders Society of India, there were about 3.7 million Indians with dementia in 2010, with the number projected to rise to 7.6 million by 2030. A general awareness about Alzheimer's disease remains low throughout the country and even lower in rural and underdeveloped areas. There is an urgent need to increase awareness about dementia in general and about the early symptoms of Alzheimer's disease in particular. Now, Alzheimer's generally have 3 stages. The first symptoms are often mistakenly attributed to aging or stress. The early symptoms can affect the most complex activities of daily living. The most noticeable deficit is short-term memory loss, which is shown up as difficulty in remembering recently learned facts and inability to acquire new information. In the middle stage, progressive deterioration eventually hinders independence, with subjects being unable to perform most common activities of daily living. Speech difficulties become evident due to an inability to recall vocabulary, which leads to frequent incorrect word substitutions. Reading and writing skills are also progressively lost. Complex motor sequences become less coordinated as time passes and Alzheimer's disease progresses, so the risk of falling increases. During this phase, memory problems worsen and the person may fail to recognize close relatives. Long-term memory, which was previously intact, becomes impaired. During the final stage, known as the late stage or severe stage, there is complete dependence on caregivers. Language is reduced to simple phrases or even single words, eventually leading to complete loss of speech. People with Alzheimer's disease will ultimately not be able to perform even the simplest tasks independently. Muscle mass and mobility deteriorates to the point where they are bedridden and unable to feed themselves. Now you might be thinking, what causes Alzheimer's disease? Now the cause for most Alzheimer's cases is still mostly unknown. Researchers believe there isn't a single cause of Alzheimer's disease. It likely develops from multiple factors, such as genetics, lifestyle, and environment. Scientists have identified factors that increase the risk of Alzheimer's. While some risk factors like age, family history, and heredity can't be changed, emerging evidence suggests that there may be other factors we can influence, like unhealthy lifestyle. Now, since Alzheimer's has no cure and it gradually renders people incapable of tending to their own needs, caregiving is essentially the treatment and must be carefully managed over the course of the disease. During the early and moderate stages, modifications to the living environment and lifestyle can increase safety and reduce caretaker burden. Alzheimer's disease is known for placing a great burden on caregivers, which includes social, psychological, physical, or economic aspects. Regarding economic aspects, family caregivers often give up time from work to spend 47 hours per week on average with a person with Alzheimer's disease, while the costs of caring for them are very high. And now to give us a more clear-cut take on Alzheimer's disease, we have Dr. Samir Pathak, who heads the psychiatry department of FORTIS Gurgaon, and Dr. Pravin Gupta, who heads the Neurology department of FORTIS Gurgaon. So welcome to Clear Cut, Dr. Pathak. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
No, it's good to be here. I hope everybody listening pays attention to today's sensitive, important topic, which requires all of us to do our little bit with a lot of responsibility and empathy when it comes to taking care of the elderly.
Exactly, sir. And so I would start off by asking you, how should people approach this Alzheimer's disease in today's fast-moving world?
So I think one needs to look at it from two aspects. One would be aware. Why do you need to be aware? Because if you will recognize early signs as a loved one, as a family member, you'll be able to go and initiate treatment and intervention at the earliest. And the earlier we start working, the better is the prognosis. The second aspect is you also need to learn what is the role of support systems, whether it is in the early stage or the later stage of the illness, and what we can do, especially family members, what is the role that they play in ensuring that the individual who's struggling with Alzheimer's, they get the best possible support.
So in today's fast-paced world, people often forget things. People become unmindful, absent-minded, as we say. When should people start worrying about their absent-mindedness, which can initially be a sign of dementia or Alzheimer's in the long run?
No, I mean, one, age does play a bit of a role here. But more importantly, try and understand that the kind of deficits that one experiences in the course of Alzheimer's vis-a-vis what we experience day to day because of multitasking and the fast-paced life that you mentioned, that's more to do with not being able to stay focused because you are doing multiple things, so you missed out on something. That's very different. In Alzheimer's, what you are looking at, there is almost a pervasive pattern. So it's not something that you will be experiencing, let's say, example, a memory loss at a given moment in time only and not otherwise. There is a bit of a progressive element to the illness. So, for example, let's say somebody who's a young working adult forgot, let's say, to send an email because was distracted doing something else. Now, that's separate. Vis-a-vis, let's say, somebody in the age group of 60 plus has been for the past several weeks or months forgetting names of people whom they otherwise knew, maybe a first cousin, maybe a work colleague, or maybe somebody from their distant family. Now that would be your difference.
I have a question here. Do you think the stress that millennials take in today's day and age can be a cause for Alzheimer's in the long run? Like when they reach 60 and above, will all this stress pile up and be a cause for dementia?
Right now to say that would not be correct. Fact is, it's very much a biological illness. There are various aspects but stress per se needs to be worked upon by all of us, whether we're a school-going student or a retired senior citizen. All of us need to learn good coping skills because it improves the quality of our life and our overall resistance.
All right. Do you think any particular age group or lifestyle can be held responsible for this?
No, see, age group is a fact.
Exactly. The 60 above age group.
Yes. So there is a fact that it's essentially an illness which is far more prevalent as age goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And again, lifestyle needs to be focused a lot more in terms of what you do once an individual is having symptoms, is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And the kind of lifestyle support is what we need to play focus on.
All right. And sir, my last question, patients with Alzheimer's have a taxing effect on the family members around them. the people around them, their caregivers. How should the families cope with this exhaustion and the mental toll they intake during the caregiving process?
It's an important question, but I think before we talk about the burden of the caregiver, we need to first understand that the knowledge of the caregiver is equally important. One of the struggles that caregivers feel is that, why does my loved one forget who I am? Or why are they saying something like this? Why are they doing this? So one needs to understand that they aren't doing this out of their will. It's the illness which has impacted some of their abilities, thinking and behavioral patterns and emotional reactions, and not the individual reaction to the loved one. The second aspect is know more about the illness so that you understand about your role as well, and then do your best, which would mean that whether it is spending time giving stimulation, something as simple as a Sudoku, a crossword, a Ludo, some plants, pets, walks, music, presents, old memories, old photographs, old films, old songs. At the same time, all caregivers need to take care of themselves as well. They will have to find space for their own self, not just because it will help them take care of their loved ones, but it's also for the betterment of their own life. And both need to be given importance to.
And do you think there can be a process where we can promote the idea of treating and caring for people with Alzheimer's? How can we promote this whole process?
I think it's a couple of things. One, we need to bring awareness. A lot of us need to be aware, and I would say that when it comes to awareness, not only for, let's say, Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia, also for a lot of mental health aspects as well, where I don't think the awareness is where it should be. Our conversations need to be a lot more regular so that stigma, stereotyping, discrimination, all of that is reduced, and empathy, responsibility, and ensuring dignity in care is something that is in all of us. And that's why I said that when it comes to taking care of our elderly who are having Alzheimer's, the role is for all of us.
All right. So you send a message loud and clear that we should all play a part in caring and treating people with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yes, we're all stakeholders when it comes to our collective well-being.
Exactly, sir. Well, sir, thank you so much for your precious time. It was an absolute delight talking to you.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
And now we have Dr. Pravin Gupta, who heads the Neurology department at FORTIS Gurgaon. So welcome to the show, Dr. Gupta. It's a pleasure to have you on World Alzheimer's Day.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I would start off by asking you, what exactly is Alzheimer's and how is it different from dementia?
So, when people grow older, there is a loss of cells that maintain cognitive function and memory in the brain. Progressive loss of such cells leads to forgetfulness, impaired ability to do certain works like judgment, calculation, speech. This is the progression of this disease is called dementia.
Okay.
Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia that happens to older people, which is idiopathic in its cause, which is caused by formation of neurofibrillary tangles and deposition of plaques in the brain.
All right. So, how should people approach Alzheimer's in today's fast-moving world?
See, what happens is that this disease, if it is recognized in time, we are able to institute early therapy, which is the window of opportunity where therapy is most likely to be beneficial. So whenever an elderly gentleman starts forgetting to name things, is not able to remember the names of people, forgets where he has kept the thing, whether he has eaten food, what is the date today, doesn't remember people he has met, you must suspect that there is onset of dementia in the given individual. And you must seek medical help where doctors, by conducting some tests, will be able to diagnose whether he has dementia and what type of dementia and treat him appropriately.
All right. So, doctor, who exactly is at risk for Alzheimer's? Is there any specific age group or any lifestyle that a person shouldn't follow that could lead to dementia? What do you think?
People above 60 years of age, as they grow older up to 90 years, the risk of dementia increases significantly by every decade.
All right.
And above 90 years of age, as much as 30 to 50% people may be at risk. Now, there are certain risk factors that are present from early life that increase the risk of dementia, and it is important to know them because we can decrease our risk of dementia if we address them early on in life.
Right.
These factors are lack of exercise, smoking, excessive alcohol intake, lack of proper sleeping, uncontrolled blood sugar, uncontrolled cholesterol, uncontrolled hypertension. If we address these factors across our lifetime and maintain healthy living and healthy brain health, then we can decrease the risk of dementia.
All right. Now in today's fast-paced world, people often forget things. They become unmindful because they are so busy in their daily life. Now, when does a person need to be worried about this unmindfulness that can actually cause dementia? I mean, should a person start paying attention to their absent-mindedness? When should a person start paying attention to their absent-mindedness?
You have put it rightly. Because of overload of information and the work that our brain is required to do, we often become unmindful and absent-minded.
All right.
Most young and middle-aged people who are working, who try to do multitasking and many things to do, they become like that. And this is not dementia. It is something like that when a system has capacity of certain processing ability, and he is trying to do more processing than the ability the system has, you will miss certain things.
All right.
Or if you try to multitask, you will not pay enough attention to all the things, and you will pay less attention to certain things, which leads this to happen. So if this is happening, it is very important to organize your day well, decrease the amount of multitasking, pay adequate attention to things. If you suffer from depression or stress and your mind is constantly occupied with thoughts, free your mind of those thoughts. 50% of memory deficit will go away with this simple thing. If it still persists, then it is best to consult a doctor. Or if the absent-mindedness is such that is started to affect your daily life, then it is best to consult a neurologist.
Are there any coping mechanism that a person should go for in the daily busy life? I mean, yoga or meditation that can help in the long run?
Absolutely valid question, sir. 30 minutes of walking per day.
Okay, 30 minutes of walking
per day is the simplest form of exercise that improves the blood circulation across the body and has been shown to be absolutely beneficial in prevention of dementia. Meditation, exercise, yoga, reducing stress in life, taking time off your busy schedule and trying to do something which gives you happiness, which decongests your mind, sitting idle with oneself for 10 to 15 minutes so that your mind can cool down like a computer. If it works for too long, it gets hanged, or a phone gets hanged if you do too much processing on it. To allow your mind to reboot every day is very important to maintain great brain health.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta, for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Same here, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So that's all the news and scoops I have for you today. Today's episode was produced by Lalit. This is your newsman Rudrashish Kanjilal signing off. Have a great day ahead and keep listening to ABP Live podcasts.
This is an ABP Live podcast.